this video, I'm going to be discussing the unsolved case of the Houghland family. So, this is a very confusing case, and unfortunately, there is not a lot of information out there on what happened here. It's very mysterious, and I guess I kind of have thoughts about what I think could have happened, but I also just don't really know enough to say, and there's not a lot of information that I could gather on this case. Unfortunately, it hasn't been covered that much, but I think that's why it's important to talk about it, because I want to talk about more unknown, unsolved cases. And I also just wanted to say that I'm not trying to disrespect anyone, or I'm not trying to make light of true crime in any way by making this video. I'm just simply covering it in an ASMR style because I personally find these videos very relaxing, and I also think they're very informative. So also, if you would like to subscribe to this channel, that would be awesome. I would appreciate that. I mainly make these types of videos, true crime videos, but I've made some other types of videos in the past. And yeah, I'm just going to jump into the case. It'll probably be a shorter video, so let's get started. Also, I'm reading from my laptop, so that's where I'm looking at in the video. So Norma Houghland was a 27-year-old mother who was born on February 4th, 1951, and she was living in Sacramento, California with her two young sons named Richard, or Ricky for short, who is 8 years old, and Thomas, or Tommy for short, who is 6 years old. And her husband, the two boys' father, they had gotten divorced it says in the late 1970s, so the exact year is unknown. And her ex-husband was living in Washington at the time of this case. In the summer of 1978, on or before July 15th, the family started their day as usual, and it's thought that they went for a drive, but I actually found that it couldn't be completely concluded 100% that they even did this. So the reason they thought this is because the car was gone from the apartment that they were living in, and the vehicle was never found either. So very weird stuff. So eventually Norma's family, didn't hear anything from her, and it had been about a week, I believe. And the weird thing is that Norma's father wrote a letter to the police to have them check the apartment. And I know that it was a long time ago, but it's like, why didn't you drive to the police station? And apparently it was kind of typical for Norma to go for drives with her sons because they didn't have AC in their apartment, and in Sacramento it can get really hot, and so they would go for these drives to kind of cool down. But apparently the car didn't have AC either, but they would just roll down all the windows and it would help cool them down. So yeah, her father wrote a letter to the police to have them look at the apartment, and that is what they did. And was a loving mother of these two boys and just had a very normal life, which, you know, it's hard to say. Obviously, I feel like we hear this all the time with true crime cases, like they were so normal or they had no enemies, and it comes out a lot of times that they did, but it's just not documented with this case. So the car that is missing, Norma's car, is a light blue Pontiac Le Mans, and it is 1965, and the California license plate is 254 SBI, and like I said, it has never been found. One other thing that I forgot to mention is that when the police officers went into the apartment, there was dishes in the sink, so it looked like they had eaten breakfast or lunch and they just, you know, went for a drive. That's kind of what the scene appeared to look like. And also, there was a spokeswoman from the police files that noted that Norma may have been suffering from depression, but this was just one source. So, and it's also like, I mean, not to be like, I don't know what the word is, but negative, I guess. Not to be negative, but I feel like it's just a very common thing to suffer from depression or to have some bout of depression, and it was a different time, so it wasn't really reported as often, but it still happened. So it's like, I don't really put much stock into that. It's a cold case at this point, and the Sacramento police officers are still looking for information. They still are open to information, so I will leave in the description, as well as my sources, I will leave a tip line in there just in case, just on the off chance that, you know, someone out there knows something. And a lot of people think that they could have just gone into the water somewhere, like Norma could have driven into a body of water, and then that would mean that the car obviously would be missing as well as her and her family. So I do honestly think that that's probably the most likely situation, but it's also just so bizarre that, you know, it just seems so weird. I just don't know what would have caused her to do that. Obviously accidents happen, and I also don't really know exactly how deeply the police officers investigated, and, you know, if they went into the water to even look. I think that they did. I would hope that they did, but I don't know. So that is the end of this case, you guys. I know this was a short one, but it honestly kind of broke my heart because it's like, it just seemed like such a sweet little family, and she was just doing her best with her children, and I just really hope that one day more answers can be found and discovered for her remaining family members. And yeah, so that is the end of this video. This was a short one, but I think that it's important to cover these, you know, more unknown cases that have less information out there on them, because these people shouldn't be forgotten at all. So that's the end of this video. If you have any other case suggestions for me, you can leave them in the comments below, and I will look into the cases and